This edition of Mac Voices is sponsored by Smile, the makers of world-class software like PDF Pen for Mac, PDF Pen Pro for Mac, PDF Pen for iPhone and iPad, PDF Pen Scan Plus for iPhone and iPad, Text Expander for Mac, and Text Expander for iPhone and iPad. Learn more about all their great products at smilesoftware.com. Welcome to Mac Voices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, I am really happy to welcome back to Mac Voices after a bit of an absence for no good reason other than just that he's been really busy, Mr. Jeff Gamet. Jeff, welcome. It's great to see you.
It's great to see you, and I've really been missing you, Chuck.
I've missed having you on too, Jeff. But you've been a traveling man all of a sudden with Smile. You've been all over the place.
Well, it's that time of the year for conferences. So yes, conferences happen year round, but there seems to be a higher concentration of them once you get into spring and then get up into fall. So I'll be flying more between now and fall.
I think it probably, my guess would be if I were a conference organizer that it cuts down on potential weather conflicts and weather problems, or at least some weather problems.
That sounds like as good a reason as any to me.
So tell us a little bit, if you don't mind. I mean, you're traveling for Smile as the Text Expander evangelist, but you've been attending some conferences that, frankly, surprised me a little bit, only, I guess, because I really hadn't thought about it.
You know, it's interesting because when I worked for Mac Observer, I was very deep in the Apple community. And so there are all the conferences that we're familiar with, of course, starting with the sadly no longer running Macworld, but other events like CES and then MacStock, which is coming up in a couple weeks. Is that right?
That's correct, as we record this.
For those of you that are running behind, for MacStock, which was last week. But it turns out when you move outside of that bubble, and yes, it's kind of a big bubble, but it's still a bubble. There's a lot of other events that are going on, and for a product like Text Expander, it overlaps into a lot of different categories because it's not just Mac users that use Text Expander, and it's not just individual users that are using it now. So you have big companies that are using it, and you have other spaces that are using it too. And so, of course, there's conferences for everything. So I've been going to conferences for customer support events. I've been going to conferences for customer support events. No, I've been going to conferences that focus on customer support. There we go. And I've been going to conferences for customer relationship management, for sales teams, a WordCamps. I have a WordCamp coming up in Denver. Actually, I think it happens at the same time as MacStock, which is why I won't be at MacStock this year. And then developers. So we were at Worldwide Developer Conference. We had to divide and conquer for that. So some of us went to that, and then there was another conference happening at the same time that I went to. And then like 360 iDev, that's coming up, I think, in August, and I'll be speaking at that too. So it's just all these different areas, and it turns out that all of them have found a place where Text Expander fits.
Okay, so first of all, I should have done this up front. The Smile is a sponsor of Mac Voices. That's not why Jeff's here. This is not a paid advertisement or anything. This is because it's Jeff, and that's a good enough reason. Having said that,
I can live with that.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's true. It's true. So when you're going to the conferences, are you going, I mean, you're obviously going as a Smile representative, but are you going
Mhm.
also as a speaker, or are you manning tables, or, what is your function, or does it depend on the conference?
It totally depends on the conference. For some of them, I'm going as an attendee because the fit, it's more appropriate to go in that way, because there might be things or sessions that are appropriate for me just to go to, and then it also gives me a way to read a conference, do recon, if you will, and decide if it's an event that we need to have a more formal presence at in the future. And then there are others that I go to where I speak, and then there are some where we have a booth, an exhibitor booth, and I'd say it leans more towards exhibitor booths and or exhibitor and speaking.
Okay. Because, I mean, depending on the conference, I can very easily see how having you as a speaker would make perfect sense, even though you're evangelizing a product. If the audience has little or no knowledge or expertise in Text Expander, it would greatly benefit them to see this particular tool for use in whatever their industry is.
Okay, here's the interesting thing, and I totally get why you just went down that path, because I am the product evangelist. So you assume that I'll be standing on a stage talking about Text Expander, but that's typically not the case. I mean, Text Expander may come up, but I'm unless it's something where it's been made very clear that what I'm supposed to talk about is Text Expander, I'm probably going to be talking about something else, like WordCamp Denver that's coming up. I'm going to be doing an hour-long presentation where I talk about all the different tools you can use to record a podcast and how they fit with WordPress. And at 360 iDev, I'll be talking about how to craft a press release so that you're more likely to be able to get the attention of the whatever media segment you're trying to hit, whether that's bloggers or just like straight up news journalists or podcasters.
Okay, so then how does that fit in with the role as Text Expander Evangelist, other than having it up on the first slide, Jeff Gamet, Text Expander Evangelist for Smile?
Well, in the case of both of the events that I just mentioned, we'll also have a table or a booth, whatever they call it at that event, and so we will have that presence. And for some of these people, they already know me in some capacity, like maybe they're people that had followed me when I was in the journalism and blogging community, and for others, maybe they know me from podcasting, and then others they might know me from some other type of event. So it gives us an opportunity to reconnect. And the other part for me is that this isn't all about making Text Expander commercials. Of course, I want to share that with people, which I was doing long before I worked for Smile. It's just one of those things that I mean, there's other products I do that with too, like 1Password. I just can't have a computer without Text Expander and 1Password on it. But the other thing for me is that when I'm presenting, I want to be able to give people something that's very useful for them in the context of whatever the event is. So if it's an event where showing them how to do things with Text Expander specifically is what they need, great, I'm happy to do that. But in other cases, it's about giving them other pieces of information that will be helpful, maybe make their lives easier in that specific context. So like for WordCamp, this may come as a surprise. I have a long history in the podcast community. So I have a lot of information that I can share, and I am more than happy to do that. And then when these same people come by the table that we'll have set up, I am more than happy to help them out with Text Expander. But if they show up and say, hey, I have a question about your presentation, I'm more than happy to help with that too. And then for an event like 360 iDev, I spent a long time in the blogger and journalism world, and I figured out what it was that people could do to hook me on a press release. And now I'm on the other side of it as well, where I get to participate in making press releases that go out. Why not share that information with developers and hopefully give them a better chance of being noticed when they're sending out their press releases?
I mean, I like it. I like it. And this is something that we've talked to Smile representatives, Gene McDonald, Greg Scown, Philip Maya. We've talked about this a number of times, that Smile really has made itself a name in various communities. They're not just, they don't just show up and have a table. They're speaking, they're interacting, they're participating in things, which is one of the secrets, I think, to their success, and something that a lot of companies should try to copy, because there are a handful of those companies that do that, and I think it pays them back handsomely from a business perspective. But from a mind share perspective, and also the fact that with you especially, you can get up there, you have a lot of credibility already established that has nothing to do with Smile. So Smile gains by having someone like you with that credibility going into those audiences, and they probably are a little more likely to listen to the Text Expander thing if you have already gained their respect and involvement with the session you're doing on stage.
I hadn't thought about it that way. If it works out that way, then great. I mean, honestly, for me, it's been, can I get on a stage and give people useful information? And if I've done that, then for me, it's a success. And it just so happens that now when I go and do that, there's also a booth that people can find me at. I guess in that sense, it makes it easier for people to find me at conferences, because all they have to do is look for the big Text Expander logo and just walk over to the booth.
Yeah, no, I think it's one of those rare situations that's a win-win-win the whole way across the board for everyone involved. And you're the guy that can pull it off because of your background and because of your approach to demonstrating Text Expander and just your approach to people.
I find events like this, and when I say like this, I just mean the whole conference thing in general, to be so much fun, because there's so many opportunities to meet new people, to reconnect with friends that you've made over the years, and to learn something new and share something.
And Jeff, we've had part of this conversation before, but what I find, especially with so many conferences, yeah, there are a few attendees that are there because their boss said you have to go and be there. But for the most part, especially with dev conferences, with WordCamp, with some of the others I know you've been to, I think it's because people want to be there, and it's not the old Atlantic City convention thing where, let's get away from the wives. It's there because they want to sit through every single session, or as many as they can. And then at night, you want to interact with people, but you're doing it from people from the conference. And 99 times out of 100, the conversation is about whatever the conference is about. It's not about politics or football or whatever.
Yes, and I've noticed that the conferences that I've been going to, the people that are there because their boss just sends them really are few and far between. And you can tell when you come across that rare person that's there because they have to be. And it's because they're the only person that isn't engaged.
Yes.
Everyone else is just all about getting as much out of the event as they possibly can. And I've even found that that people where you can tell that they want to engage, but maybe they don't get to go out that often, or there's something that just prohibits them personally from starting the engagement. It doesn't matter, because someone will go and start that and then pull that person in. And it's just really cool to watch, because here's this person that in a sense, it's like they were waiting for permission to participate, and everyone will be like, yeah, you've got permission. Come on, let's go. And then they just jump right in, and it's just great.
Yeah. Well, WWDC this year, we had that experience one night because there were a couple of us that were going to try to get together for dinner, and there were several others that we had literally just met. I mean, minutes before. And it's like, yeah, let's go get something to eat. Okay. So we ended up with 6 or 7 people that probably only 2, maybe 3 had known any of the others before we started. But that's just the way it happens. And we had a great time and some great conversation and exchange of ideas. And so that's what conferences should be about. And I know I'm a little biased, but the conferences I try to attend regularly are filled with that kind of interaction.
I was at a conference recently. There's enough conferences happening right now that I have to check my notes to figure out which one I'm having a meeting about with the other people at Smile. But this one that I was at recently, it's called Customer Contact Week, and there were literally thousands of people there. And for people that have gone to events like CES, well, the Mirage, where oh shoot, which event is it that happens at the Mirage? Showstoppers?
Great. Showstopper. No. PepCon.
PepCon, that's right. Okay.
PepCon.
So the whole space that PepCon takes up, this event takes up, and then it spills out into the other big ballrooms that they have. It takes up the whole conference side of the Mirage. And so it's this massive event where it's easy to just jump in and be completely lost. And yet, on the first day, within, I don't know, a couple hours, I'd already met this group of people, and we were all there just meeting randomly. And all of a sudden, I had this new group of like 8 friends. And we became such good friends during the event that we now have our own little private chat thing going on. And and it's really cool because you can go to these bigger events, and the people are there because they want to learn, they want to meet new people, and that's exactly what happened. And so now I have this group of friends that we'll be in contact for a long time now.
Yeah. And it's too bad that we all can't learn a little bit of that lesson and bring it home, to our daily interactions, that we have to go to a conference to figure this out.
Isn't that interesting? I wonder what the psychology is behind going to a conference and being willing to just engage strangers and become friends, when at home we're less likely to do that. I wonder if it has something to do with a sense of anonymity. So if it doesn't work when you try and make an interaction at a conference, you can feel like you may never see that person again, so it doesn't matter. I don't know.
I think I'll flip it around the other way. I think it's because at a conference you're there for a common purpose, and you have that.
Oh, sure.
You have that connection. I mean, if I walk into a restaurant and there are 3 people sitting at a table, and I walk over and say, can I join you? They're probably going to look at me and then call security, and which would probably be a wise move.
But I wasn't going to say it, but okay.
Yeah, I could see you were waiting to, so I thought I'd just take it from you. But yeah, I just think that's that's just the nature of it. But when you have a common bond and you know that the odds are high that you're sitting there with somebody, with other people who may not know many people, if anyone, that it's a little easier to do, like you said, psychologically. So,
But one thing I do when I'm home, like now, hanging out in my office in Boulder, I pick a day each week, and I just pack up my laptop and go work in a public place. And it might be a coffee shop or some public place. And I make a point to sit in the area in the venue, or we'll just say in coffee shops, where there's a lot of other people. And I will just engage people. And actually, one of the places that I go, I love saying that I go over to the biker bar that's really close to me, because I do, but this is Boulder, so it's a bar where the front it's a store where the front half of the store is a bar and the back half is a bicycle shop.
mm-hmm.
And so I will go in, sit down at the bar, and I always sit in a chair where there's someone right beside me, and I start up a conversation. And it's really cool because I get to meet some really interesting people this way. Most of them I will never talk to again, but for that window of time when we're sitting there together at the community table in a coffee shop or restaurant, or at the bar in the biker bar, we have this really great time. More people should do that. Just go places and say hi to someone that you don't know.
Yeah. And there's certain regions of the country, and I'm intentionally not going to call out any in any direction, but that seem to be a little bit more hesitant to accept that kind of thing. And then there are others that are very accepting of that kind of thing. And you have to be a little careful about it, because we were joking about security, but there's some people that react a little differently to that. So you have to recognize that if someone is not interested in having the interaction, you can't force it, or then it starts to get a little creepy or worse.
That's a really good point. And I do my best to read body language so that I'm not like picking someone to sit next to that I feel may not be receptive.
Yeah.
But I've also had people where I've tried to engage them, and it's clear that they're not interested, and I drop it, and then someone will sit next to me on the other side, and I'll try with them.
Today's edition of Mac Voices is supported by Smile, the makers of world-class software. The hits just keep on coming from Smile. This time, we should talk about the latest features added to PDF Pen. Now, PDF Pen has improved the ability to select and copy columns and table data. And that's really important, since so much information resides in that type of formatting. And the ability to copy and paste it where you want it makes that data all the more useful. PDF Pen also adds automatic page rotation options for scans, which is no small thing if your document contains lots of pages with different rotations. Having those fixed for you automatically is a real time saver. And those are just the latest improvements to an already super powerful PDF utility that includes secure redacting, optical character recognition, the ability to export to Word and Excel, and much more. Visit smilesoftware.com/podcasts to get more information on PDF Pen and the even more powerful PDF Pen Pro. Download a demo version and get a taste of what PDF Pen can do for you. That's PDF Pen at smilesoftware.com/podcasts. And while you're there, let them know you appreciate their support of the show. Thanks to Smile for their ongoing sponsorship of Mac Voices. So let's turn this a little bit back to the territory that Mac Voices usually covers. With all your travel, I am very curious to know what hardware you're traveling with and what services you're finding the most useful. I know I have my favorites for travel and my things that I consider essential, but you're doing a whole different thing than I usually do. And so what are you using? iPads, MacBooks, well, maybe not obviously, but I would think an iPhone. Any particular services or anything that also get included in that mix?
Well, for hardware, if I don't have a presentation, or if I'm not doing text expander demos, then I will travel with my iPad Pro and my iPhone. I will probably also travel with my iPad Mini because it's my book reader. And it's just a lot easier to sit on an airplane and read a book on an iPad Mini as opposed to a 12.9-inch iPad Pro.
Right.
If I'm going to an event where I know I'll be doing presentations or product demos, then I'll take my MacBook Pro as well, or sometimes in lieu of my iPad. And the reason I do that, even though Text Expander is available on Mac, Windows, iOS, and Chrome, it's because if I'm doing a demo, the odds are people want to see the product running on a desktop or laptop computer. So it just makes sense to have an iPad for that, or excuse me, a Mac for that. And so that's my primary hardware. I have a slew of portable batteries that I carry with me because you never know when you're going to run out of power. The one thing I'm looking for right now, the USB-C cable that the MacBook Pro ships with, it's fine, but I don't feel it's durable enough. So I've run through a couple. I want to find some like aftermarket thing where I can put a protective sleeve over the cable, and then have some sort of reinforcement thing on the ends where the connector and the cable come together, and just reinforce my USB-C cable. And the reason I want to do that is because I know that cable is going to work correctly with my MacBook Pro, as opposed to getting a third-party cable, which might work right, might not. I would just rather take an Apple cable and beef it up, and then not have to replace it so often. And then I also, if I'm taking my laptop and my iPad with me, I'll travel with my Luna display. And, plug the little dongle into my MacBook Pro, and now I have a dual display set up with my iPad Pro.
Which soon we'll be able to do with iOS 13, and you won't necessarily need the Luna.
Well, I don't know. I'm going to do some tests and decide what works best for me. I'll let you know.
Right.
Then, excuse me, other tools that I use. It's always good to have a VPN because you want to make sure your data is safe. So my VPN of choice is TunnelBear. It's worked really well for me. I like the price, and I like that I can put it on all my devices, and excuse me, and it'll be just fine. And then I have another one, which I have to look at my menu bar so I can tell you what it's called, because I always get the name backwards. Trip Mode. And so I know you know what it is, but I'll pretend for a minute like you don't. Trip Mode is this awesome app that you put on your Mac, and it knows when you are tethering. So it will act like a firewall and block the data ports for different services for you. So you can block email from happening, or messages, or web page browsing, or whatever it is, and then hopefully avoid surprise data charges on your cell plan. And you can configure what passes through and what doesn't. And you can turn it off if you just want to let everything through while you're tethering. But the other thing is you can set up like different sets. So if you are recording a show in a hotel room, which will almost always have bad bandwidth, even though you're on an actual network, set up a trip mode set that just starts blocking ports for apps that you don't want to suck any of that bandwidth. So do you remember in the old days of Mac OS, we had, what was it called? Switcher? You remember the, no, it was location something.
Oh, yes.
Manager.
Yes, location manager, yes.
And you could use it to control just an amazing number of things on your system, including what apps were running or not. And to me, trip mode brings back a lot of that functionality we had for controlling apps that we lost when Location Manager went away.
Yeah,
I miss that feature.
I agree, but I have trip mode loaded as well, and it's sort of essential as far as I'm concerned, because not just for the reasons you were talking about, but just sometimes in some situations I don't want all my apps reaching out and doing their thing in the background.
Right.
Not only does it degrade the signal, but I also, even though I'm running through a VPN, there's still just stuff that doesn't need to be happening unless I decide I specifically want it to happen.
Sure.
So, great choice. Do you use I'm as you, a lot of the listeners know, I'm a big fan of TripIt, the service. Not
yes.
Are you using TripIt or are you using something else?
I use TripIt. What I like about TripIt is that I can have everything related to a travel event go into one repository. Interestingly enough, I typically don't use the TripIt app when I am at the airport and I'm monitoring my flights. Instead, I'll use Flight Update Pro, and that's because it will give me more information faster, and it will even do things like let's say I have a flight that's booked and the event is 2.5 months out. Flight Update Pro will actually be able to tell me what my gate is. Whereas other services, they won't have information like that until about 2 weeks before the flight. So I can get more information about my flights and earlier with Flight Update Pro. And it's something that I started using before TripIt like really took off, at least as an iOS app. And I can set it up so that if I need to let someone know I'm getting on my plane and I'll be leaving soon, I can send them a message and have it include all of the flight information just automatically. So it's one of those tools that even though it adds some redundancy because I already have TripIt, I won't stop using it because it offers me some features that I just don't want to give up.
Oh, no, that's great. I mean, I know exactly what you mean because I've got those apps too. And the airline apps are, depending on which airline, some are really good, some are frankly not so good. But
yes.
But it's almost essential that you have your airline app on there with you. So
yes. Yep.
Yeah.
I have the airline app for all of the airlines I fly in regularly. And one thing that the airline apps are nice for that I won't see anywhere else, it's when I'm actually checked in for a flight, those apps will always verify that my known traveler number is actually connected with that flight. So I don't have to worry about if I'm going to have any trouble when I get to TSA pre-check.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you for bringing up TSA Pre because obviously you just indicated you have TSA Pre. Have you signed up for Clear yet?
I have not. And the reason I haven't signed up for Clear is because I haven't been able to see the overall benefit for me yet. And that's because when I'm going through TSA pre-check, I've never had a line that was long enough or moving slow enough that I felt like I needed to have an even faster way to get through, which I know I can do with Clear.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
but I know for some people it's really great. It's now Clear is also great if you go to, say, like a lot of sporting events, because there will be clear checkpoints at the security for the stadiums, and so you can get through there a lot faster. I think if I was going to events like that, I would probably get Clear just for that, and then it would be a bonus to use it at the airport.
Yeah, the only, as far as I'm concerned, the only downside to Queer, and I signed up for it thanks to Dave Hamilton and Mac Geek Gab
Mm-hmm.
after he talked about it, and I thought, well, okay, I'll give it a shot. And it was very interesting to have that first experience because you just march past everybody, and
Yeah,
and
including TSA pre-check.
yeah, exactly. So it was a very positive experience. It's something that, I think if you, so there are two tiers to it here. First of all, you have to fly a fair amount during a given year. And secondly, you have, this is the only downside to Clear, you have to really pay attention to what airports Clear is in, because they're not in every airport at this point. So
Right.
if they aren't in the airports that you are frequently going to, then you're wasting your money. But if you are going through airports that have Clear, I think it's a good investment.
Okay. Well, since the Clear line and the pre-check line tend to be side by side at the airports that I go to where Clear is available, I'll keep watching, because if I feel like there's enough airport opportunities to use it, yeah, then maybe I'll go ahead and get it.
Well, I will say this about Clear. Since I started using it, I never see a Clear line. I see a TSA pre-line, and admittedly, they're a lot shorter than the other, the regular security. But there's never a Clear line. It's just, it's always walk right up, and there's a station there available to you to scan or scan whatever you're going to scan,
Mm-hmm.
your fingerprint or your eye scan or whatever, and then they just take you over and you're gone. It's that fast.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that is nice. But with TSA pre-check, I have found, at least for now, even when I've had a long line, the longest I've waited in line was 5 minutes.
Yeah. Most of the time, I'm with you.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm gonna keep an eye on Clear and see if it actually will have value for me.
Okay, so this is sort of off topic and sort of on, but how do you pack for conferences? Because some of these, they're not just an overnight trip. Sometimes they stretch 4 or 5 days.
Mm-hmm.
So what is your luggage of choice?
I've been traveling for a long time, so I've had the opportunity to do a lot of experimenting with luggage and with packing techniques. And what I'm using right now is the Away carry-on, and it's it's a hard shell case. And when you're at the airport, look around, you're going to see a lot of Away bags, which tells me that their advertising campaign on podcasts is working well. It also tells you who's a podcast fan, because they have an Away bag typically. I like it because it's durable. It has the lifetime warranty thing, and it has that built-in charger. And if you got one of the earlier bags, and you travel on planes where they're going to make you check that anyhow, it was such a pain, because you had to open up your suitcase, take everything out, and then unscrew this compartment and take the battery out. They've changed it, so now all you have to do is flip up the cover where the ports are, and the battery pops out. And Michael Johnston from the iOS show turned me on to this. You can go to the Away webpage and fill out a form, and they will send you the refit kit for free.
Oh,
which is what I did.
I didn't know you could refit them.
Well, now you know.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's on the Away page. I think if you go to the support page, that's where you'll find it. And there's this whole description of of dealing with the battery in the suitcase and the link to fill out the form. And I filled it out, and I think it was like 4 days later I had the kit in hand, and it was an easy swap out.
Yeah, because I know, I mean, at least the airlines I fly are becoming a lot more aware and outspoken about, no NICADs, chargeables of any kind in the belly of the plane, and
Yes.
for good reason.
Sure.
That's not an airline cut. That's just the way it is, and that was always my two questions about this. And you've just taught me something, because I always seem to, especially for longer trips, I always seem to push the edge of the weight limit. And I hated to give up even those few ounces to a battery in my luggage when it's something I throw in my backpack. So the question here is, the battery that you pop out of your away luggage, can that be used as a separate standalone battery? It can.
Yes. And as a matter of fact, when you pop it out, it looks like it's just any other battery pack that like you get from Anchor or whoever. And it even has the Away logo on it. And so it looks like a nice big battery pack. And
Okay.
yeah, so, there's another bonus. Now that you can pop the thing out, you get to a conference and you want to have a big portable battery with you for recharging. Just pop the battery out of your suitcase, throw it in your backpack, and away you go.
Okay, I'm going to have to relook at the away bags, because those were my two big concerns when I first learned about them, and I just never circled back. So now I've got to circle back.
Well, the away bag has worked out so well that even when I go on a week-long trip, I can pack for the whole trip in that. And if I had to carry a lot of extra gear, like for recording shows or something, all right, now I'm going to need a checked bag. But
Right.
if I don't need to take stuff like that, I can do a week easy. I think the longest trip I did with that bag was 12 days. And that was an international trip also.
Oh.
And it worked great. With my experimenting over the years, the trick that I see so many travel experts offer up, which is take all your clothes and roll them and then pack them in. No. Just no.
Okay.
I experimented with that for a long time, and what I found is that it made it so much harder to effectively pack my suitcase. I went back to folding everything flat, and my problem was when I was doing the roll thing, I was ending up with stuff that was too rigid. And so if I'm doing flat packing, everything's still soft, and it's easier to work stuff around and find a place to jam my umbrella into the suitcase as well. And then if I have to pack in other things, like if I the conference I was at last week, I needed to carry 2 boxes of glasses cleaners with me to give out at the event. Okay, I was able to pack for a week in a carry-on and put 2 boxes full of glasses cleaners in my suitcase, along with a ton of packs of stickers, and I still had room.
So I gather from your flat packing comment that you do not use packing cubes.
I am so into my Eagle Creek packing cubes.
Okay, good. I feel better, because I'm a huge advocate of the packing cubes. It makes life so much easier.
I agree. So here's what I do. I have one of the full-size packet cubes, and I fold my T-shirts and put them into there. And then I have 2 of the, I guess they're the half-size packet cubes. One is underwear, and the other one is socks. And then if I have like button-up shirts that I want to bring along, I have one of it's an Eagle Creek thing. I forgot what they call it. It's part of the packet system where you open it up, you lay out your shirts, fold them up around this cardboard sheet, and then close everything up. and so that's what my button-up shirts go into. And then I also have an Eagle Creek toiletry kit. And the only time I couldn't use that was last fall. I did a trip to London.
So another trick I'll throw out there. You can get these nice little, and I'm sure that Eagle Creek probably sells them, but there are a number of other no names. A Ziploc size bag that is like a thin plastic, and not as thin as a Ziploc bag. And I really love those because they have a gusset at the bottom so that you actually can put more things in them, and they're and some sidewalls, so that instead of it being this thin, they're like that thick. And so you actually have a small bag that you're putting them in. And then because that is TSA compliant, I can put everything in there. And then I usually get like a larger Ziploc bag in case anything spills or anything, whatever. It's in there. So I'm TSA compliant. If they make me take the little plastic travel bag out of the Ziploc bag, fine. I can do that. Most of the time they ignore it because it's very evident that I'm compliant.
Now I feel kind of lame because I actually do have one of those and had totally forgotten until just now.
Yeah.
I could have used that on the London trip, but it all worked out fine.
Oh yeah. And it depends on how much you take with you and what kinds of things. But I know I've gotten paranoid because on one occasion I had a Ziploc bag rupture, and some, I forget what it was. I think it was shampoo got all over everything, and it's like, okay, gotta find another solution for this.
Yeah, doing TSA pre-check, since I don't have to take toiletries out, it would be very easy to not have the liquid stuff in a Ziploc bag, but I still put it into a Ziploc bag, even when it's still tucked inside my toiletry kit, because I've had the problem too, where a shampoo bottle popped open and it just got into everything.
Yeah. Jeff, before we're going to start to run short, but one other thing, one other aspect of travel I wanted to ask you about. You said you're taking an iPad mini to read on the plane. Do you purchase plane Wi-Fi, or is it a chance for you just to unplug and get away?
Unless I'm doing something where it's critical that I'm connected during the flight, I will not buy Wi-Fi. And that's so I have my forced disconnect time. And the interesting thing is, when I decided to start doing that, I found that instead of being stressed about, am I missing something important, or does someone really need to get a hold of me? I find that it allowed me to just sit there and read and not even think about anything else. So I get to read a lot of stuff on airplanes now when before I didn't. And what I will do is load a bunch of music onto the iPad mini as well, so that I can listen to music while I'm flying. Another tip, if you are on an airplane, you want your ears plugged, whether it's earbuds that block outside noise, or put earplugs in, because that droning sound of the engines will fatigue you. And so if you're plugging your ears so that you're at least cutting that sound down a lot, when you get off the plane, you will have more energy, and it makes a huge difference. So I put my earphones in before the plane pulls away from the gate, and even if I'm not listening to music, I put my earphones in to help cut that sound.
Yeah. And I'll do you one better than that. At least this for me works. And I don't know why I think it's better than the droning of the air of the engines. But if I'm not listening to anything or watching anything, and especially if I'm trying to sleep, I'll just run a white noise app, and just that way I can turn it up or down as loud as I need to drown out the screaming kids that are all around me, or the screaming adults occasionally that are all around me. But that just gives you that nice that nice white noise, blanket to get some rest and relaxation.
Yes, and I sometimes do the white noise. More often, I will do music.
Okay. See, most of the music I like, you don't sleep to.
Yep, I totally get it. And I rarely sleep on planes, so I listen to music that won't distract me while I'm reading.
Okay, got it. Jeff, this has been interesting, and I really appreciate you sharing some of the tips and tricks. But knowing you with your background, I figured there had to be some. A couple of them surprised me. A number of them didn't, but a few did. So now I've got some homework to do myself before my next trip.
Awesome.
So.
Well, I am now on the hunt for a replacement computer backpack, because the one that I used for so long, it was from Cocoon, and so it had the whole packet grid built in, which I loved, but it's too small for what I do now. So I've been on the hunt for a replacement, and I've gotten some suggestions, and haven't made a choice yet. But how about if I toss it out to the MacVoice listeners and watchers? What do you use and what do you like? Let me know.
There you go. And how should they let you know?
I'm easy to find. You can let me know on Twitter. I'm at jgamet. You can send me an email, jeffg@textexpander.com. And or if you Google me, you can probably find a bunch of other ways to get a hold of me too. But those will be the non-creepy ways.
Yeah. I'm not going to ask. Hey, but I will be the first one to respond. It might be a little big depending on how big you want to go, but check out the Ogio Renegade.
Hold on, I'm writing it down. Ogio.
OGIO.
Oh, yes, I know. I said it wrong and spelled it right.
Oh, good. Okay.
Okay, it's on the list for me to check out.
Yeah. That remains my travel pack of choice. It's good for daily, but it's really, really good for travel, especially if you're carrying gear with you. So
awesome. Yeah, the requirements are: needs to be good for travel, good for daily, also needs to fit comfortably under the seat, because my away bag is going to go into the overhead.
Yeah, understood. Yeah, this one, I mean, you can overpack it to the point that you might have trouble getting it under the seat, but it goes under with no trouble.
Awesome.
Something to check out. Jeff, thanks. If next time you get off the road, we have to talk again, because this is just way too much fun and I really miss it. And I'm sure there'll be one or two stories you can tell.
There's a high likelihood that between us, we will be able to come up with a story or two.
I wouldn't be a bit surprised. Thanks so much. It's great to see you.
It's so awesome to see you again, and thank you for having me on. I have so much fun.
We always do. We always do.
Oh, yes.
Folks, I'm Chuck Joyner. This is MacVoices. I hope you've had as much fun as we have, because I always enjoy talking to Jeff and getting his thoughts on things. And just, you never know what's going to come up between the two of us. Until the next time, and as always, yeah, it is, isn't it? Thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices, or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you MacVoices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.